So I'm here with the last video on MSA. I hope you like my previous three videos. Start with the accuracy part, then it went to the precision, where we talk about attribute gauge R&R. Then in the last video I have made for variable gauge R&R, where we covered crossed and nested gauge R&R, right? And today, as I mentioned in my previous video, today I'm here with you on the graphs, on the measurement part that we are actually getting when we use or when we do ANOVA, right? Or when we do, sorry, gauge R&R. So basically, we will get six charts or six plots or graphs in the gauge R&R. So today I will show you one by one each and every plot and what's the meaning of this and what kind of benefit we can get it. But please make a note, don't conclude anything just by looking at the graph, okay? So if you want to conclude whether your measurement system is acceptable or not acceptable or marginal acceptable, please always go to the session window, check your contribution percentage, study variation percentage, NDCs, which is number of distinct categories, or percentage tolerance if you have. Don't always, as I mentioned, let me reiterate, do not conclude anything just by looking at or just by looking at the graph. So graph will tell you some overview or some brief about what kind of conditions or what kind of analysis will be there in the session window, but always use session window before concluding anything, okay? So firstly, I will share with you an example. So this is an example which I already used for crossed gauge R&R. So I just copy the data and I pasted in the mini tab, right? So now if you see, you have the part number 1 checked by operator A, part number 2 checked by operator A again, part number 3 checked by operator A. If you go to operator B, he is also checking part number 1, 2, 3 and so on. So total we have 10 parts checked by operator A, B, and let me see, yeah, so there is another operator C. Any other operator? Let me go down. No. So there are three operators A, B, C, and they are checking every sample and they are checking 3 times. So obviously, if that is the case where all the operators are checking all the samples, so we have to use the crossed gauge R&R. Okay. So it means operator A has checked the first sample and this is the measurement. This is he measure the sample A or the part A again second time, which is trial 2, and he get this measurement and so on. Okay, so we are going to use the crossed gauge R&R for this case. So let me just go to the gauge R&R and show you how it works. Okay, go to quality tools, gauge study, and gauge R&R crossed. Please note that, and here you have to put the part number, operators, and the measurement data, right? ANOVA, as I already told you in my previous video, you can go and check. You can write the gauge information here. You can go to the options. You can put your study variation. Mostly we keep 6 because we want to cover 99.9973% of data. If you have your specification limits, please enter lower or upper specification limit or the difference. You can select any one of these, okay? Maybe this one where you can write, or if you want to just choose the difference, you can choose it here, okay? If you have the historical standard deviation, you can mention here. If you want to change the alpha risk, mostly we keep at 0.05 or indirect 5%, and remaining 95% is a significant level, right? If you want to change anything, you can change confidence interval also. Mostly we put the confidence level, as I mentioned, up to 95%. If you want to change, you can select here and you can change these numbers, okay? But for now I'm not doing anything. Storage, if you want to store anything, let's say the study variation, standard deviation, number of distinct category data in these columns in your worksheet C4, C5, C6 and so on, you can select any of these. But mostly these numbers I'm getting in the session window, so I will not select anything and I click OK. So when I click OK, I will get this kind of graph, right? So today, basically, I'm going to talk about these graphs because I've already talked about this session window. What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of NDCs? But let me just brief you again. So here you have the ANOVA table, right? And in the ANOVA table, part and operator interaction is high. So that is why there is another ANOVA table which says without interaction. Why? Because it is not having the interaction here. Why it is not having the interaction? Because operator and part interaction is insignificant. Okay, so that's why it is being removed from the ANOVA table. And from ANOVA table you can get your variation components, right? You can see the repeatability variation is coming from your mean square, and then we will have the reproducibility which is coming from your operator variation component, and so on. So here you will get your percentage contribution number, which is 7.76. And if you, I hope you not forget, so it's a marginal accepted area of your measurement system between 1 to 9% of percentage contribution. Let me go down. There is a steady variation, which is nothing but coming from the standard deviation multiplied by 6. You can see here. Why 6? Because in your calculation you put the 6 because you want 99.73% of the data points, 99.9973% of the data points to be covered. Okay, now standard deviation is nothing but it's coming from the variation component. So for example, you have here 0.09143, and you know this is the variance component, and the standard deviation is always the square root of variance. So if you do the square root of this, you will get this number. Square root of this, you will get this number, and so on, right? And you multiply this number by 6, you will get your steady variation. And if you want the percentage steady variation, you have to divide each and every number by the total number or the total variation. So I mean 1.81423 divided by 6.51180, you will get 27.86. And even this 27.86 is also showing that the measurement system is marginal accepted, because the range of measurement system steady variation is between 10 to 30 for marginal. If you have less steady variation, or I mean less than 10, your measurement system is very good or acceptable. So by looking at the percentage contribution, by looking at the steady variation, and also the number of distinct categories 4, I would say this measurement system is marginal accepted, and there is a room for improvement. So we need to do the calibration again, or we need to call somebody who can calibrate, maybe the external parties, or if you have internal setup, you can calibrate this particular measurement system again and do the gauge R&R again to check whether your contribution percentage or steady variation is improved or not. Now this kind of conclusion you can do it by looking at the numbers, okay? But today's session we are talking about this part, which is nothing but your graphs, okay? So if you see in your mini tab, you get the same graph, and I'm showing you the same graph for this, which we have done just now. Let me open for you again. So these are the graphs, right? I just copy this graph from here, right? And how you can copy, just right click. So first you select all, right click, and you can just copy graph. And what I did, I just copied this graph and I pasted into here, so that we can discuss only on the graph. I should not change again and again. So now there are total 6 graphs, right? Or 6 plot. So start with the component variation, then R and X bar, or people are saying X bar R chart by operator. So mostly if you are from Lean Six Sigma background, whenever we plot the X bar R chart, or when we are plotting the control charts, so there is a chart which called as X bar R chart. So this X bar R chart is nothing but it's a common chart. It's a one chart. Okay. Actually, there are 2 plots, one for the range, one for the X bar. But whenever we study this graph or study these charts or these plots, we always study both together, X bar and R. Please note this part. Okay. And I will also make the videos on the control chart. I will tell you in more detail how these graphs been created. But just for your information, whenever you are reading these graphs, you always have to read X bar and R chart together. Okay. Then we have some charts on measurement by the parts, measurement by operator, and part to operator interaction. Let's understand each chart one by one. So first, on the left hand side, you have 1, 2, and 3 chart. So you can see 3 charts here, the same charts. And let's talk about the component variation. Now the component variation is nothing but it tells you the variation of different components: indirect way, repeatability, reproducibility, and if you add all these, you will get the total gauge R&R, component variation, and finally you will have part to part. By looking at this graph, I would say yes, the part-to-part interaction is very high compared to the gauge RNR, which is good, okay. Always you should have more part-to-part variations or part-to-part components variation instead of gauge RNR. If you have less gauge RNR variation, it means your measurement system is good. If you have more gauge RNR variations, it means your measurement system is not good. So by looking at this graph, it looks like okay, the measurement system looking good, okay, but I'm not concluding. Please note this. Now coming to R bar and X bar chart. Now what is R bar chart? So R bar chart is basically it's a range. Range in the sense the highest value minus the lowest value of each trial. Okay, let me explain you. So you can see on the top, this is operator A, operator B, and operator C. So this area from here to this dotted line is the operator A area, and on the bottom you can see all the parts. So part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, or sample number 1, 2, 3 till 10, right? So sample number 1, operator A has measured 3 times. So there will be some readings like top value and lowest value for sample number 1, right? So if you have these kind of values for sample number 1, for sample number 1, so the difference between the highest and lowest value is here. Similarly, the difference between the highest lowest value is here, difference between the highest lowest value is here. So what we want is, you can see there is a upper control limit and lower control limit. What we want, all the data should be in this upper and lower control limit. If it is there in this upper and lower control limit, we would say yeah, the range is not out of limit, or range is not inconsistent. We will say range is stable if your data points are within this control limit. And if you see these control limit are not very far, it is from 0 to 0.88 only. Okay, so we don't want the range should be too far. The range is nothing but it's a repetition values. So for trial number 1, I checked 3 times and I want the numbers or the measurement what I did first time, second time, and third time for sample number 1, 2, or 3. It should be same, right? So that's why we want it should be very close to 0 indirect way, or it should not be very far away from each other. Or indirect way, I'm saying this is the repeatability. So this graph R chart by operator will tell you the repeatability value or the repeatability error. So by looking at this, B values are going out of the limit, and it also has the variations, okay, more variations compared to A and C. But one point is out of limit, so we will say operator B is measuring the parts inconsistently. There is some instability in the operator B. So sometimes when we do the gauge RNR study and we find that reproducibility error are more, and we want to see okay which operator is producing more errors. So by this chart we can see whether it's A, B, or C. Okay. Now let's go to the X bar chart. In the X bar chart is nothing but this is the average. So on the top we talk about the range. Here we are talking about the average of trial number 1, 2, and 3 for every sample. So you can see for operator A there are 10 samples, right? So for sample 1 there are 3 trials. So what is the average of 3 trials is here. What is the average of 3 trials, and so on. So in this part, the variation mostly we are looking for out of control always, yeah. So if it is out of control, mainly we will say yes, it's good. And also we will see the pattern of these plots. So if the pattern of these plots are similar pattern for A, B, and C, because these are the average numbers, right? Average of A, trial 1 by A, average of trial 1 by B, average of trial 3 trials, I would say, for C. So we want to see these patterns should be same, right? And mostly we are looking for the measurement should be out of control. Why? Because it indicating the variations is mainly due to difference between the parts, because every part is different. Sample number 1 will be different from sample number 2, will be different from sample number 3, right? Mostly we took the different samples. So if you have different sample, definitely your data will be out of control. So it indicates yes, most of the parts are different from each other. And this range will talk about the repeatability error. Okay. Now let's go to the last 3 charts. So this is the first one which talks about the measurement by part. Now you can see this is nothing but the average of part 1 by all the operators. Let me repeat. This is part number 1. This is the average you can see in the center blue line, and these are the gray colors are nothing but the data points. So for example, sample number 1 checked by operator A 3 times, operator B 3 times, and operator C 3 times. So total 9 data points are there, or 9 measurement are there for number 1, trial number 1, and this is the average. Similarly for trial number 2, trial number 3, 4, and 5, and so on. So you can see these data are in not in a line, okay, that is not in a level. So which says that there is a large difference between parts, okay, which is okay, yeah. So this graph is only talking about the parts. So whether your parts are similar or are different. So if these measurements are totally different, so we can see yes, the parts are actually different from each other. So 10 samples are different from each other because this connecting line is not in the straight level. Okay, it's a different zigzag manner or non-level line we call it. Okay, so this is the graph to tell you about the parts measurement. Now next is measurement by operator. So this is the graph which talks about reproducibility. Let me go back and show you. So this graph, our chart, which talk about repeatability, and we have this chart, the measurement by operator. It is talking about reproducibility. Now this is the average of all the samples done by operator A, this is by operator B and operator C. You can see the box plot, right? And in the center you have the average. So if you have the average and the variation also, you can check through the box plot. So now if your connecting line of mean is in the straight line, then you will say the reproducibility is good. But here in this case, B is showing slightly lower than the others, right? So B average is slightly lower than the others. So there is, I would say, there is a reproducibility, but not very good. Okay, so there are some reproducibility error, mostly because of this C, because he is measuring the data slightly lower than the A and B. Okay, so this graph will talks about reproducibility, but it will not say okay whether good or bad. As I mentioned earlier, you have to go to the session window, check your reproducibility and repeatability, and gauge R&R percentage contribution, study variation, and NDC. Last but not the least, very important graph which talks about part and operator interaction. If you remember in the Minitab, I told you the p-value for ANOVA table for part and operator interaction was 0.974. You can see here I've already mentioned. So 0.974 means there is no significant interaction. Now how can you see whether there is a significant interaction or not? You can see by this graph. Okay, now what is this graph? So for sample number 1 or part number 1, the green dot is talking about the operator C average, the red is the operator B average, and the blue is talking about the operator A average. So average of operator A for trial number 1 or part number 1, part number 1 for all the 3 trials, for operator B and operator C for all the three trials for sample number 1. Similarly, and you can see so on and so forth. So now in this case also you can compare this graph with this graph as well. So mostly we are saying C is mostly giving the lower results, right? So C, which is the green color, and you can see mostly it's giving the lowest result compared to A and B. So A and B are little bit close for most of the samples, but C is not very close. So that's called part and operator interaction. If they are very close means all the lines are connected very closely or situated very closely to each other. We will say yes, the interaction is there is, I would say, less interaction. But here the part and operator is far away in the sense operator part interaction for operator A, B and C is not closely situated. We can see by eyes, we can see clearly, right? Now if you see for part number 5 and part number 7, you can't see clearly for A and B, but for C you can see clearly there is a distinguish. They are not closely situated. So if they are not closely situated, we will say there is not a significant interaction. Okay, so that's why the p-value is also reflecting in the ANOVA table 0.974. So if there is no interaction or no significant interaction, we have to leave part and operator interaction from the ANOVA table, and we will have another ANOVA table which talks about ANOVA without interaction. So we will take all the data from ANOVA without interaction table. Okay, so that is why we from this graph we can see whether there is an interaction or not. I mean the significant interaction or not. If there is not, then better we leave operator and part interaction from our study because there is not a significant interaction. So I hope you like this video, and